All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we're gonna look at three tickers here. We'll look at SoFi and SoundHound. I've done that together a bunch of times, and then I really want to talk about WeBull. So I completely missed WeBull on Friday, but man, I love the Discord. I love this Chart Readers community because just because I miss it doesn't mean someone else isn't gonna find it, right? And I can't tell you how nice it was. Like, let me just go to it real quick. Literally yesterday, before it went all-time highs, right here, just before the end of the day, we found out that Bull went public. Honestly, had absolutely no idea. It looks like it was a Despac is what I saw. It broke all-time highs and ran, and oh, you can tell I'm excited to talk about that one. But SoFi and SoundHound have some interesting things going on as well. And you know, I normally focus on the daily charts, but I think the weekly charts are probably going to be just a little bit more of my focus on this one. It's kind of been that theme with the indices, and I think it kind of makes sense to do that here, right? And then I don't want to talk about the indices too much, but around 110 is where I will bookmark this. Yesterday I made a quick video about me thinking that we're in the eye of the storm right here. I don't think that the bad is completely gone, but hey, there is an eye of the storm where things calm down momentarily, and our goal is take advantage of those moments. With SoFi, it looks like there's a 20% move. SoundHound, honestly, I'm not exactly sure. I didn't really look at that one yesterday, but and then WeBull, that one just feels like it's gonna keep going all-time highs or fall real hard down to below 16. So that'll be the 1, 2, 3 on this one. All right. So before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it. All right, so let's get into SoFi. And look, I know in the opening thoughts I said I was going to focus on the weekly, and I think I still will. But there's a lot going on this daily chart, right? So we saw it again. I'm not going to talk about the index too much because I already did, but it was around February where we went horizontal and then started this downtrend, right? SoFi, basically the same thing, horizontal till that February drop, right? We are still struggling with that 8 and the 20 even through today, right? So as great as this week of trading was, as amazing as this Wednesday, third biggest day in history. You know, we saw all those headlines, right? We're still under the 8 and the 20 on the daily, right? So I'm still not seeing a lot of great things, but if I'm right, and again, I might be very wrong, you know that, right? But if it feels like this is the eye of the storm, and you know we can maybe see a little bit of calm coming in this week, this could be an interesting 20% week here. And you know, you can actually kind of see it right here. Look, I think the daily makes it a little more limited. I'm basically right in the middle of these 2 moving averages, right? The 20 and the 200. Individual MAs are moving averages are very difficult to break. Clusters of 2 are that much harder, let alone when one of the clusters is the 5th one, the hardest one, right? So the daily is kind of telling me that roughly 1150 is going to be pretty hard. When I look at the weekly, though, what I'm seeing is, hey, if we can get over this 50 moving average, maybe there's a decent chance we can get as high as the 8 moving average around the 12-ish number, right? Now, granted, this line's going to come down, right? The week is over. It's going to come down one more time. I don't really know the math here, but like it kind of seems like, oops, no, I didn't want to move that line. Whatever, hopefully, whatever. We're not here for perfect anyways, right? Maybe it'll be around, maybe it'll actually just be basically half this candle right here. So let's call it $12, right? So I think between 1160 that we see on the daily, right? That number right there, and then that 12 flat that we're kind of guessing for the weekly, that's what I would be looking for on SoFi next week, right? hey, that alone is a 10% gain, right? So double digits really aren't that bad, especially in this tough of a market, right? But I don't know if we're going to get over the golden line, let alone to this 50 moving average, right? But um, yeah, at the minimum, we're still struggling with the 8 here. There hasn't been real crazy like death crosses here, right? Obviously, the 8 has when a small one goes above a big one, that's a golden cross. That's a good thing. When a small one goes below it, right? The 8 went below the 20. That's a death cross, right? So we've only really seen one on this actual chart. When we were looking at the indices, there's actually a lot. Well, there's only two, but there are more here than there are there, which is a little bit interesting. And in some ways, kind of shows a little bit of strength here. I'm glad that this one's doing less worse than the index, right? You know, if that I don't know if that's grammatically correct, but hopefully that makes sense, right? But I think, like I said, right now, if the indices go up towards the 8 moving average, that's what I was talking about on the yesterday video, so should this stock. And roughly speaking, that's about a 10 to 15% gain, right? If the indices fail, this is going to come back down to 974, right? Where is it on the, yeah, 974 for sure. I think that's an easy thing, and I think it will be. Because look, again, I just talked about on the daily, it's hard to break two clusters with the 8 and the 20. The weekly saying it should be really hard to lose those two, right? Especially it's the two strongest ones down here, right? So I wouldn't expect us to go much below 974 unless crazy things happen on the indice, right? But I think really the goal is let's head up towards 12 one more time. All I'm thinking is eye of the storm. I'm not thinking this is over. I was a lot more aggressive the day I heard the 90-day tariff pause. You know what I mean? And I think the one thing that we kind of China. Let's just put that. I think that's all I need to see. Where we ended, I think this is what I really liked. It seems like China's still active mattered more than that 90-day pause. You know what I mean? And that kind of was the consensus above. I saw another headline about like electronics maybe are not going to get again, there's so much changing and this and that. To me, it's easier to just focus on the moving averages, right? If you're really into politics and you're into like that, hey, that's a big advantage that you have that I don't, right? I think you can use that well. To me, I'm still looking at our lines breaking, our lines holding, etc., right? And like I've been saying, I've been doing it on a little bit more longer time frames, right? So um yeah, again, I'm hoping to go to this line max. Really 12, I think 12 is probably our high up. 974 is our way down. Watch what the index does, all right? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's come into SoundHound, all right? And, you know, I think I'm going to echo, oh, I have no idea what that was. I think I'm going to echo a decent amount of things that I just said on the SoFi chart. The one thing I actually really want to do here is show, was it Guard Force or was it Bullfrog? I don't remember. No, it was Bullfrog. BFRG. So, Bullfrog makes a very big move on Friday. All right. It very much was driven by the biggest volume in, I mean, the longest of times, right? I mean, basically since this early Jan 24, this was the second biggest volume day, right? So big volume will do good things. You know, when I love it when the moving averages give us a nice channel on top of a nice red. I mean, this was a good technical move, right? I'm never here saying, let me say that another way. To me, it's not believable to say, you know, it's been under all the moving averages this long and then it's going to pop. But I think it could have been very realistic to catch this around 175, give or take, and then ride this basically all the way to the top of the wick. It hit the two MAs, right? So that much is realistic, right? This isn't about Bullfrog by any means, right? This is about SoundHound. But what I want to take from this is, I think, twofold. Number one, I think people want to trade AI. I think people just want to trade anything, right? We've seen so much red the last, month, 2 months, give or take, month and a half, that the itch is there, okay? What I like about Bullfrog was this daily chart gap right there. And it's not a gap, it's really a channel, right? But between here and here is lovely. When we come to SoundHound, It's not as loud as a gap. All right. Now, from down here to all the way up here, it's not quite 10% because 80 cents is going to be your 10%. We're basically adding 60, right? But it's not that far from that. So that's a decent single digit right there, right? The real nice trade will actually be, let's call it 88, let's call it 890 all the way to potentially, as high as this, right? Because if you can get over that, that's going to be the channel we want to break, right? When we look at the weekly, once again, I see a tightness between where we're at and that same line, basically, right? From between here, I guess a little bit before, right? But it's just tighter, and that bothers me just a little bit, right? I would very much love it over that, like I said, 890. I think that's going to be a solid number because really the potential is to 1040 on the daily. And then again, if we're over even that much, yeah, 990 is even 50% of that weekly candle right here, right? If we hit 990, this thing actually says maybe even as high as 12, let alone that 10 that this thing just set, right? So in a lot of ways, I'm not sure if it's how do I say this? There's so many stocks out there, right? My goal is let's put it into the best one that's going to do the best the day of trading, right? That's a decent single digit. You know it is, right? I think I would prefer it just a little bit above, but again, it's hard to break multiple moving averages. Those two, by the way, are the exact same as SoFi. I don't know if you were watching it or not, and it's actually a little bit tighter. So that 880 is such a tight wall because we know the 20 by itself is a tough line and the 200 by itself is a very tough line, let alone clustering those two together, right? So we've actually been below the 8 and the 20 even longer than the index has been, right? I don't know if this was an earnings thing. I really don't, but yeah, this thing dropped just a little bit earlier, bounced on that golden line, and then basically followed the index from there, right? And really all the indices. But we've been battling that 20 moving average and that 8 moving average for a little bit now, right? So it's tough to assume, but one more time, if that eye of the storm, the eye of the storm, if that calmness next week comes, hey, maybe these MAs won't be as hard as they would be otherwise, right? But yeah, I think this one's a little bit of a risk reward, and really more than anything, and I think I took way too long to say it. I think volume is probably going to be the most important thing here. All right, so for pretty much the entirety of this downtrend, right? We were only over, yeah, let's just zoom into right here. This is pretty much the entirety of the downtrend from early January all the way till today, right? We really only got over the 50-day line 3-4 times, give or take, maybe a couple right there, 7-8, right? We only got over it 7-8 times, and none of them were well green. We had one horrible red on that gap down right there, right? But we've never had a good green buying over the average day. What's really going to do the impact is going to be 60 million shares. Normally, when we're this low, I would go a little bit lower and I would have probably, oh, it's really about the same number. I'm at 59 right here, right? But yeah, what I really was looking at was roughly this right here. That's kind of the average of the nice big. I guess you can say that this is another one right there. And yeah, that's that. Look, between 60 and 70 million shares is really what we need on Monday. All right. And again, that's simple math right there. 7-hour day, 70 million needed. We need 10 million shares per day, right? I would actually like 11 or 12. Give me that little buffer, right? If the volume comes and the NASDAQ goes up towards the 8, I think there's a decent shot at that 933, maybe even 10, maybe even 12 something, only because we've seen the silliness on the volume side that this thing can do, right? Like it wasn't that hard for this thing to get to 100 that long ago, right? So if that 60 million comes, 70 million even comes, oh man, let's see what happens, right? Otherwise, on the flip side, if we lose the 8MA, it's pretty much game over. I don't know if that's too low a line. Where are you? It's too tight. Give me a second. Where are you? That's too high. That's too low. What's your 50%? That's our line. Don't lose 785. Let's call it 780. Do not lose 780. All right. If SoundHound loses that, real bad things will happen. Really, the goal is to head up towards 870 and then just start crushing it from there. All right. I think that's it, actually. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Okay, you can kind of tell this is the one I was the most excited to talk about. Um, okay, couple things. First off, there are different trading systems, right? Like I'm using this thing, WeBull itself is one of them, right? And sometimes they will show you the pre-SPAC and the DSPAC history. This one broke it apart. So instead of showing what it was before the ticker change, it's just giving me one fresh brand new candle, all right? Um, because of that, this is basically an IPO chart. And I will tell you, there are significantly better traders than me that will never touch a chart like this, right? Look at what we have on the daily. We have a single candle, we have absolutely no MACD, absolutely no RSI, and just a single day of volume, right? So there are people that will just wait and at least at the bare minimum wait 8 days to at least get that first moving average. We have nothing right here, right? So it's there are so many different strategies to charts. There are to tickers, excuse me. There are people that don't even chart, right? So I love the fact that people are real comfortable sharing their preferences and no one attack. I'm telling you, man, I normally don't like trading these, but there was a lot going on after hours, and I'm going to talk about shorter time frames on this because really that's what we have to do, right? Hey, real quick, if you can subscribe and share, oh, it does wonders with these algorithms. Okay, so one thing you hear me say a bunch on just about any video is the IPO line is a critical line. All right, when we look in the box over there on the left, this thing opens up here at 16, right? So the only information I really have is drawing a line at 16, right? This is a couple pennies below. Again, we're not here for perfect, right? So that is the only educated thing I could really do on this chart. Maybe I can draw a candle at 50% and you'll see me reference this 1640, 1660 number shortly in the Discord. But maybe you can say a 50% candle line is kind of appropriate, but really not much, okay? Excuse me. So I'm going to go to after hours, all right? And I'm going to go to the 15-minute chart. And I think this is the perfect view. This is all you really need to see, right? Okay, first off, let me give a little history about Bull. Let me know, by the way, if this is correct or not. Sorry. Where did she put it? Where did she put it? It was just a little bit. Give me a second. I just want to share this because, again, I really. Okay, so look. No, not that one. Oh, come on. So it sounds like you would think I would we'd rehearse some stuff, right? I'm gonna just come back. So it sounds like there was some issue with people. Let me go back to the daily chart regular real quick. And then again, let me know if things are true or not, all right? So it sounds like there was some issue with people being able to fill on this ticker at the beginning of the day. Let me know if that's correct or not. All right, because that's a first real. I had no idea this thing went public. I'm a little sad I missed this DSPAC right here. Right, I use WeBull. That's like literally my day starts with me looking at WeBull. I'll be real honest with you. So there's a little bit of like sentimental love and like I would have liked to just hold some stock on this, but like that's not what we do here, right? We're here for technicals and not emotion, right? So I heard that it was like you couldn't fill that early, and maybe that accounted for a lot of this drop. I have no idea why, but again, you can see it in the 15-minute. This thing tanks the first 30 minutes, right? And then pretty much stays horizontal till the end of the day saw a monster pop, right? Um, what I saw, okay, so yes, that was at least that initial thing. I don't even know if I just wasted some minutes there, and I apologize. Let's get into the post market. That's where things got exciting. So it was around give me sorry. You would think that I would practice things. Oh, I'm sorry. Whatever. So look, let's just get to the charts. When this broke the all-time high line, there was no stopping it. Okay. And again, you can really easily see why I had no questions about should I adjust this thing 3 cents? Does it matter that my line's not perfect? It really doesn't matter. Because if your line is good enough, and the IPO line is probably the easiest line you can draw, right? We literally drew it at the open. You can see again the box on the left right there says open 16. My line is 3 cents below it because I'm a human and I can't click perfectly, right? You can quickly edit this thing too, right? Like it's easy to make it 16. When you break all-time highs, you have no resistances. There's no educated lines I can draw up here to say it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard. Like I have no idea. Excuse me. The opposite would have happened if this candle failed, right? If that green didn't go up, oh man, if we lost 10, if this line was to have gone, right, the bottom of that green one right there, you can see it was the bottom of that green one right there. If we lost 999, it probably would have gone to yeah, nine. I think we would have gone down to like $8, no, $7, easy. I think this would have lost a quick 20%, $2 down, maybe even a little more. You know what I mean? So there are pros and cons to having, what do you call, to having no information, right? This is the regular hour daily chart view. This is all we had, right? And like I said, this I could have just colored gold. Oh. This I would have colored edit red, right? Because I do my golden lines, death lines. And then again, on the 15, you can even see it. Oh man, I love that I just did that. The 15-minute end of the day came back to the death line. Look at that. Look at that. And as I look at this, wow, that was actually a confirmation. That's a bad loss of a line and confirmation to turn up like that. Look at that. That's the power of volume right there. Interesting. Sorry, I'm like looking at this thing and like enjoying this chart sorry. Yeah, there's not too much more I can say here, right? You know, the one thing we were talking about was WeBull versus Robinhood. And I personally, again, this is just my opinions, I might be wrong. To me, I think Robinhood should be valued higher because I think more people have real money in Robinhood trading than in Webull. Sincerely, I have my money somewhere else. My money is not in one of those two platforms. I simply use Webull because it's an easy app and I can see stuff on my phone and my charts and I can put, settings for like watch lists and this and that, right? So I don't trade in Webull. Clearly, I don't trade in this system either. It says, practice play money right here, right? Paper. So to me, though, I'm just guessing. I think Robinhood has more real money, and I think having more real money traded in your platform probably matters more than regular usage. I might be real wrong there because there are clearly a lot of companies that use their traffic, right? The amount of people that come on because that equals ad dollars and this and that, right? So, and then maybe they have some subscription stuff that I don't really know and this and that, right? But yeah, I actually thought Hood should be valued more than Bull. There were people that disagreed with me. I'd love to know your thoughts there. But look, coming into Monday, all right, I know where we're at, right? Obviously, the realities are we're up here at 26. So with that, what I would do is I would draw that line. Is that the right line? Yeah, that's not bad, actually. That's about half. This can't go below 21.07. If this goes below $21, this is going to fall to 15.16. All right, we cannot lose 21. Let me see. Look at that. That's probably where I would have drawn it. It's the last big candle before like the little like smaller inconsistent, not all dojis, and then obviously was that super last doji right there. You can see that's a 96 RSI at the end of the day too, right? So don't lose 21. Hopefully 21, if it's going to come down, becomes a bounce point to take this back up. Again, I have no RSI, no MACD, no idea. Hey, at the bare minimum, we need more than 1 million shares per hour, right? If we can get 7 million shares tomorrow, that's almost 50% more volume. And I think with the after hour run, that might be a little realistic here too, right? But we need 1 million shares per day, per hour, excuse me, right? I want more than the 5 million today. Do not go lower than 21. If this thing gets to 26.90, 95, again, there's no resistances, right? So, what are we, sorry, not the weekly, 15. Um, yeah, 2680. I think that's what we'll call the all 2690. I think that's a good one. I'll take it to 92. I'll set an alert there. Why not? That's our all-time high number, and then there's no resistances up, right? So, cool. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.